Is this the end of custom app dev as we know it?
Uh,
Good morning, Brendon. How are you doing today?
Doing really well, thank you, Andy. And yourself?
I'm doing really, really well. I'm ultra excited to be talking to you today about low code and no code. It's one of those things that's actually been around for a couple of decades, right? It's morphed in terms of terminology from fourth generation programming languages to drag and drop coding. So this is something that has been in the ecosystem for quite some time, and for whatever reason, it's just never really grafted. But I think for the first time since I've been in the workforce, it really feels like this is starting to gain some ground. So just wanted to get kind of pick your brain about this topic. So maybe we could just start off with a little bit about your view of what exactly is low code, no code, and why should organizations be taking a look now?
Yeah, no problems, Andy. Like, to be honest, you're showing your age by referring to 4GL, and let's take a step back in time and talk about WYSIWYG and such like. I think anybody that's been floating around in the industry for a period of time's experienced some of the vision of what those solutions could be, and we've had some level of success. Ultimately, what's really changed from my point of view and what is low code, no code. It's a fundamental approach to how you can do rapid delivery of solutions. I think with really the modernization of public cloud and the accessibility of these solutions, that's one of the big things that's changed historically when we thought about 4GL and WYSIWYG and such like solutions. It was all pretty piecemeal, provided by smaller organizations, but now we're seeing much larger organizations get invested in low code, no code. Microsoft, for example, and there's really a big ecosystem around that as well. So I think those are the big drivers. And at the end of the day, also organizations as a whole are really trying to find the right tool to do the right job. We're probably moving a little bit away from sort of one solution to rule them all. One of the old sayings is, if you've only got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so we need to keep on sort of assessing our options and making sure that we've got a few different tools in the tool shed, as highlighted behind me.
Great. So when you look at all of the clients that we've served and all of the people that we're talking to about this, what do you think is the biggest misconception and the trap that organizations fall into when trying to establish a low code, no code capabilities and competencies?
Yeah, great question. I think, once again, you've got, it's not one or the other. It's not low code, no code, or pro code. Like, you need to go on into it with your eyes wide open. At Provoke, we've really been talking quite a bit about fusion teams. So what we strive to do is saying, hey, let's use the right tool for the right solution. And ultimately, let's look to combine them where it makes sense. So if you've got a deeply technical solution, you might have a simplified front end. So you can build a Power App, or Nintex is another partner we use with Nintex Forms, and really back that with a back-end cloud service. So that's one of the sort of key misconceptions. It's not one or the other. Probably the other thing is, it's easy to get caught up in the marketing hype and read all the marketing brochure, and it says it's easy. Like, the reality is, if you're using a new tool, there's a little bit of a mindset. You need to have a bit of a growth mindset about how you go and leverage that tool. You have to be a lifelong learner. You still have to go and learn stuff. You have to work out how the tool works. Any product that you try and congeal into your thought process, and kind of manipulate and not leverage its strengths, you'll be fighting a battle with it. And broadly speaking, it'll be pretty unpleasant.
Hmm. Okay. So lots of good information there. Like anything else, right? When something new is introduced, it's almost this division into two camps. And there's not really an examination and the consideration of, well, there's some overlap, number one, and use the right tool for the right situation. So really like you calling that out. So moving on to our next topic, as we mentioned in the beginning, it's been around for a while. What's different now, you think? What makes you think this is actually going to get the critical mass adoption that, in my opinion, never happened in the history of enterprise application development? But it feels like we're on the cusp of this actually becoming a reality. Like, what's changed? What do you think is different now?
Yeah, I think market conditions. That's a big difference over the last 24 plus months, we've seen a real increase in the cost of talent in the custom engineering side of things, and the access to talent. So the talent pool's reduced, and so I think people are looking at, and they're more open to other options. I think also, in addition to that, we've talked a lot of historically about shadow IT. The business is asking to do more and achieve more, and so I think now the IT side of the organization is kind of really saying, hey, let's stop fighting it, let's start adopting it. Let's empower our business users to be successful, and let's be a partner versus a blocker. So I think that's a huge difference there, and also the desire for speed to market. Like how do we actually evolve and win business and grow a business? We've got to do it faster, and so looking for tools that provide that. And then finally, sort of as mentioned at the start, really the maturity of the public cloud. I think that's really starting to provide additional options, scalability. It's a secure solution. You're not having to do a lot of lifting to get up and going. And then ultimately the vision at the back end that we aspire to is artificial intelligence and machine learning. Like, how do we start to leverage some of those some of the secret sauce and some of the PaaS solutions that come with a public cloud provider to integrate them into our experiences and make them more rich? And so it's all those things coming together that are, I think, really providing the opportunity.
Great. So to your point, right, rising labor costs among pro coders, and the need to get to market faster. So does this mean it's the end for traditional custom app dev? Like, if you're a pro coder, like, are you worried about having a job and having, quote, citizen developers being able to do at least some of the work? Like, is this the end of custom app dev as we know it?
100% no. To use a bit of a cheesy phrase, teamwork makes the dream work. What I'd really sort of push and sort of educate people to think about is the 80-20 rule. How can you take some really commodity custom app development functions kind of off a pro coder and potentially move them to a Fusion app, where you've got some low code solutions getting built on top of a pro code backend. And so let's put the strength and the muscle where it's really needed. Let's have the pro coders doing the hardcore engineering, and then let's leverage some low code tools to really accelerate the app delivery. So if we think about a Fusion team where we've got sort of business users, we've got business analysts, we've got pro coders, and we've got our citizen developers really coming together to drive a productive speed to market solution. Like, that's where we're starting to knock it out of the park, and that's where we are getting the dream to come together. Now it's a mindset change. We have to stop being precious about, well, that's my job. What we need to start being precious about is delivering business value.
So well said. Well, thanks for your time, Brendon. And if you want to find out more about Brendon and get in touch with him, on the following closeout screen, we'll have some information up for you. Thanks, Brendon, for your time. And to everybody else in the audience who's reading this and consuming this, talk to you next time.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.